Wales, Africa and the World, the podcast from Hub Cymru Africa championing global solidarity and the connections between Wales, Africa and beyond. My name is Peter Gilbey, and in today's episode we're marking the recent Fairtrade Fortnight, led in Wales by our partners Fairtrade Wales, and we'll also be focusing on Black History Month, which occurs every October. Today we're joined by Martha Musonza Holman. Martha is the founder of the Love Zimbabwe charity and the Love Zimbabwe Fairtrade CIC. Established in 2001, Martha's work with Love Zimbabwe involves establishing and supporting several workers' cooperatives in Zimbabwe, including the Chinamhora Community Centre, just north of Harare. As one of Wales's leading black women and an expert in sustainable development and fair trade, I'm delighted to welcome Martha here today. And later on, we'll be hearing from Ore for this month's instalment of Africa This Week, exploring current affairs and the latest news out of Africa. Bore da, Martha. Thank you for joining us. So, before you came to Wales, you were a teacher in Zimbabwe. What was your motivation for coming to Wales? What was the context behind that?
Bore da, good morning. Yes, before I came to the UK, I was a teacher in Zimbabwe. I never planned coming to the UK, so I'm not sure there was a motivation. But of course, if I had a chance or an opportunity, I would have planned to come to UK. But it just happened that I had to come to the UK because of the circumstances, because of the situation I ended up in. And luckily, I knew someone from Wales who was like, come on, Martha, come to Wales. So if you can define motivation for me, because I don't think it was a motivation, it was a motive. I think it was like a forced factor that was imposed on me.
What was that imposition on you?
Well, what happened was towards the end of the 80s, we were in Zimbabwe, the economy was going down, and I was a geography teacher. Being a geography teacher, you had to teach about the economy of the country. I was teaching GCSE levels, and a lot of my learners were those who were also voters. And that was the time when we had our president, Mr. Mugabe, in regime. Little did we know that a lot of teachers we were also coming towards the new party, which is MDC. But that time as well, it happened that there was solar eclipse where people came to Zimbabwe in masses. And I ended up inviting a few people, including the lady who brought me to the UK, to my school where I was teaching. But of course, because I was teaching geography about the economy of the country, it made that I had to talk about the white farmers in Zimbabwe. And at that time, the white farmers were being beaten up and the land was being taken, and it was affecting the economy of the country. It became a political aspect instead of being a subject of the curriculum. Yeah. So some of my learners, because they were adults, they went and reported me to the people in power, to the rulers, and before I knew it, I was in trouble. I was teaching politics, but I wasn't teaching politics. I was just teaching the situation that was there. So because of that, my whole life went in mess, in shambles. Ended up in prison, beaten up, and no one would listen to me. I went to police and to report. My house had been smuggled. I had my dog because I was a single parent. So when I was beaten up, they also killed my dog. So I had no one to go to. And being a teacher in Zimbabwe as well, there's no way I would have thought I'm going to UK because I didn't have savings. I didn't have money. Yeah. So that's why I'm saying it wasn't a motive, but it was just a situation that was created for me that luckily I had a friend in Wales. When I told her that this is my situation, this is what has happened, she just said, come to Wales. That's when I came to Wales.
And I think In terms of like the wider sector then, and the partnerships between groups in Wales and groups in Africa, do you think a lot of partnerships start off in similar ways with those personal relationships? People in Africa may have a friend like you did in Wales, and those partnerships sort of start up like that.
A lot of people have come to Wales, to the UK, they came through education. Most people I know who are here are established in health care work and these positions where they were offered a job. It's not easy to be friends with, if you go to Africa, for example, it depends on what hat you're wearing in Africa. Probably the circumstances of you inviting someone from Africa are limited because you're there on holiday.
Yeah.
So those situations don't really happen unless these people have been friends from before and then they decide to invite each other. Yeah. But a lot of people who are in Wales, who are in the UK, have come through work, they've come through skills, and they've decided to create...
Right, I see. Would you have any advice for people who are creating those links as you did through your profession?
Yeah, definitely, because for me... that's where empathy begins. It's about understanding. It's about creating the trust. Because if you look at where the world is going, if we don't trust ourselves, the humanity that lies within us, the friendships, it's not easy for someone to come out of Africa. It's not easy for these small organizations to be created. And for myself, my organization is sustained because of friendships, because of people in Wales who have listened, who have followed my path and who have trusted me and who have actually decided to come with me to the village and say, oh, so this is the situation. Because I'm talking of my background as a person who come from a very humble village where no tourists go. So it's not easy for those situations to happen. If you might want to know, for example, when I heard that there were white people coming to the village I was teaching, it was not like an easy thing to meet the white person. I made an effort. I walked 62 kilometers. Wow. Carrying arts and crafts because my hopes were in these people. They're coming from the UK. They've got money.
Right. And
believe it or not, when I got there, I saw nothing. The people were saying, we haven't got money. And then I decided to talk to them. I said, what do you mean you don't have money? We haven't got money. We are trying to do this thing to sell to you so that at least we can look after our children. Yeah. So that was the motive of me inviting them to my school.
Yeah.
But also, this lady who invited me to come to Wales, what happened is they were all sitting by the fire, enjoying dancing and everything. And her child was bent on the leg, and I went to give help. No matter, I was so tired, I'd walked a long distance, and with people had no understanding. I was the only one who could speak 2 languages. And I just went to help her, and she couldn't believe it. This person, I don't even know her, and she comes. That's how we cemented our relationship, and so that was a beginning of this whole long-lasting partnership. And those occasions, they don't really happen. Sometimes I feel, if your daughter didn't catch fire, would she have talked to me, or we had ended up being friends? We don't know. But again, in that situation, because no one could interact with the people who were there, you find that friendships are not easily formed.
Yeah,
there has to be something for those friendships to come by.
On the subject of your work now, after coming to Wales and setting up Love Zimbabwe, what does Love Zimbabwe mean to you? Like, what is it? What's its mission?
For me, Love Zimbabwe is the love for the people. I am Zimbabwean. I have lived a life of suffering, and I just feel there should be a point where people should realize that Zimbabwe is a country that is partitioned. We do have Zimbabweans who are suffering, who are struggling. And we do have Zimbabweans who are millionaires, who are rich. The love of the country is gone because we are like that far away. far apart. So Love Zimbabwe is calling out to people, whether you're Zimbabwean or you're not Zimbabwean, look what is happening to our country, which used to be the breadbasket of Africa, and now it's seen as one of the poorest countries. Zimbabwe is rich. We could get our riches back like tomorrow, but we need love. That love is gone. We haven't got it. And this is why my organization is called Love Zimbabwe, because we need to see what is happening in Zimbabwe and we need to act if we can.
So you've touched on there some of the issues and obstacles facing Zimbabwe at the moment. Zimbabwe has been suffering for a long time. Colonialism, the Rhodesian apartheid period, Mugabe's dictatorship. What was it like establishing Love Zimbabwe and establishing that ethical partnership between here and there?
I suppose it's about my principles. When I was growing up in the village, I've always thought, why me? Why do I have to walk 3 miles with no shoes? Why is it that if I don't go to school, that's it, that's the end of my life? But I've always been thinking of the other girl in the village. How is that girl going to survive? Who is going to come back to the village and look after that girl? And when I qualified as a teacher, I was teaching in a, again, really poor village. And that village was between Mozambique and Zimbabwe. There was a lot of girl trafficking. Right. We ended up having loads of children with no parents. These girls were trafficked from Mozambique to Malawi, from Zimbabwe to South Africa, come back pregnant. And that was time when HIV was ripe. And I was thinking, until when this is going to happen? Until when? And it was women. Women were the ones in the village who were looking after these children, fatherless children, with no money. And that's when I started teaching them how to do arts and crafts. That's when I started traveling, selling these arts and crafts. I think for me, that was the beginning of the thing that we are calling fair trade now, because I was seeing the impact of trade on my own people. Despite I was a teacher, my money as a teacher was not enough to look after the village. So I wanted to bring like a social enterprise where women meet, we make these crafts, we sell, and we bring happiness. And you don't bring happiness without love. You don't talk to me if you don't love me. You don't talk to me if you don't care. So my principle, and I think my ethics are based on love, peace, and sharing.
The work that Love Zimbabwe and that you were doing in Chinamhora community, what does that look like day to day?
So again, I didn't start in Chinamhora community. I started, as I tell you, in the village near Mozambique. That's where I met the people who ended up inviting me.
Right, okay.
But I had to make a decision because I grew up with my grandparents. And coming to UK, leaving my children there, it was going to be difficult for me to decide whether my children go to my father or go to my mother. So I needed a place that was central for them to do something. And it was something because I knew it's hard. They haven't come to the UK. It was going to be hard. I didn't know how long it was going to take for me to go back home. So I spoke to the chief of a village in Chinamhora where my mom was based.
Right, okay.
But separate from her establishment. Luckily, the chief trusted me because I did tell him exactly what I wanted to do. I wanted to establish a community centre that was to help people. And I wanted to work with people living with disability because I knew there was so much stigma. I knew there was so much neglect of the child. From my experiences as a teacher, we never had disabled children in school. We never had disabled. And then it all came together when I did my master's degree here in Newport, when I did a research on disability in Zimbabwe. I worked with 5 schools in my village, only to find that almost 100% of disabled children have no access to formal education. That hurts. And the government does nothing about it. No one does anything about it. So I established Chinamhora Community Centre as a place for solace. Initially, I wanted to support women Because you find women work so hard. We have got nothing, but we wake up early in the morning. We're thinking of the children. What do they do? And we've got no money. So when I started, I was thinking about women.
Yeah.
But now looking what we've gone through economically, politically, everyone is suffering. They're suffering. It doesn't matter who, a child, a man, a woman. So our community center has grown in our Chinamhora Community Centre, that we work with whoever is in need of a place where people have got empathy, where people have got love.
Martha, I'm really impressed by the work you've been doing. And you mentioned about how women have to fight for it. As a woman in the community, did you see any struggle with the fact that you were advocating for these changes to implement them? And did you face any challenges? And are you comfortable speaking about them?
Oh, yeah. I can speak about them because I think if you can say motive, now I can tell you that's my motivation. I do not like the way women are treated back home, our culture. And when I divorced my husband, I was labeled a prostitute because marriage is it's a taboo. You have to stay in your marriage. I remember my grandmother saying to me, if your husband come after midnight, you need to drink water so you don't talk. She was blaming me for talking too much because a woman's supposed to be quiet. And I said, I'm talking too much because I'm asking him, where have you been? If he goes on Friday, doesn't come back, he comes on Monday. What does he expect me to be doing with no food with the children? Mm-hmm. So I have really tried my best to mobilize, to educate women that we can survive without. I'm not encouraging people to leave their husbands, but I'm saying the way our culture is in such that the man is at the top, the patriarchy societies, the man is allowed to have 5 wives. I don't agree with that. If the man has 5 wives, what about the woman? Can she have 5 husbands as well? No, it's not allowed. So I've been trying hard campaigning to stand up for women in Zimbabwe. And most of the women that I work with, they understand my values. And again, I think it's helping men in the world because my children, they're both sons, and they know my principles. 1 wife, 1 man. So we're trying to encourage that in the village as well.
On that note, what has been the impact on women and disabled people in the communities that you've been working in?
Freedom, just to be able to be who you are, just to be able to live a life when you are valued. That is, you see, that's my concern, that it doesn't matter. A person has to be valued in life. A person has to be respected, whether you are from disabled community, whether you're a woman, your rights have to be valued. And I feel every time I go to the village, our work is changing attitudes, not just on the people that we're working with, but with the leadership as well, with the people in power as well. When they come to see what we are doing, they can actually see that we are moving on in terms of changing attitude and stereotypes.
Fairtrade Fortnight has just finished. What does this campaign mean to you? How does Fairtrade play its part in the work you're doing?
I'm a true believer of Fairtrade. I feel emotional when I talk about Fairtrade because it's been my life. It's about fairness. It's about when I go home and I see how people work so hard in the fields, how people struggle living on subsistence farming, and yet they don't get enough to survive, or what they get is for selling. So they're able to feed another person, but they don't even think what is going to happen when this food is finished that I'm getting. People don't want to pay a fair price. They're taking out from this farmer, but they're not thinking that this farmer needs life as well. So this year, for me, it's been our 15th anniversary. And I wanted to do something with schools around my area in Abagaveni, and I wanted it to be big. But I wasn't sure what. So I thought, it's been 15 years of struggle, but we're still there. We're still surviving. I want to talk to someone who is powerful in my community. So I emailed Mr. Griffiths, who is the owner of and your hotel in Abagaveni, because I wanted to ask him what does he know about fair trade, and also if he would consider selling fair trade teas in his hotel. But the idea was I wanted to be vibrant. I wanted to really massively bring this whole thing about fair trade. What is it? How many years has been fair trade in existence? Who knows about fair trade? So yeah, I talked to Mr. Griffiths, and he agreed to. If I should have sent you some pictures, a Fairtrade Fortnight, I marched the whole of town Abagaveni with 60 children. It was raining. We were all wet, and. But that's what it means to me. Nothing will stop me talking about fair trade because it is helping people. I've visited some fair trade producers. Initially, when you hear about fair trade, when you do not even understand it, you question it. Like before, people used to think it's a middle class business. It's for rich people. But when you actually go, like, as I am saying that I believe in it because I know how people are surviving. I know how people are coming out of poverty through selling their fair trade products. But for that person who doesn't know, who still has a question, I think it's time for us to continue doing something, acting, not looking at it as a niche of the past. But it's something that has worked, it's something that is working. We need more people to engage with it. We need more people to actually visit these fair trade producers, to see, to hear. People believe when they see something. But if you don't go there, if you don't see what is happening, you keep thinking that it's a middle class thing, but it's not. It's not even. Fair trade is a movement that is there. You talk of solidarity. It's one way of creating this solidarity between the people because we all want to drink coffee. We all want to drink tea. But how many of us would want to go into the field to farm that tea? How many of us who want to have blisters working hard on the land? Not many. So why don't we work together? The people, the producers, the farmers who are building, who are creating this food, bring it to our table. Why don't we feel for them? Why don't we have empathy for them and buy fair trade, support fair trade? What's the problem?
The communities you're working with in promoting fair trade, was the connection between that work with fair trade and climate change, for example? Is there a connection?
I work with people who are in marginals in villages in Africa. And each time I sit down with them, asking them, what is happening? Where do we get into? We believe we are Christians, and sometimes we think, God, there's something wrong that we have done. There hasn't been an understanding of what is fair trade, what is climate change. Some people were just saying, oh, God, God is upset with us. So I am in a position where I understand now because of living in two parts of the world, living here and being able to actually have money to introduce a community center with Wi-Fi, with laptops, with computers where people can see what is happening to the world, to understand what is climate change, what is happening, but how can we act, what can we do? I know we are at the least bottom of creating the impacts of climate change, but we still have to act. So with my organization, we are registered with the British Association of Fair Trade Shops, BAFS, which supports arts and crafts producers. Because in Zimbabwe, fairness doesn't exist anyway. We talk of fair trade, but when you come to the country, Zimbabwe, fairness doesn't exist. But we're trying to make people understand what is it, what is fair trade. So we sit down, we educate them. So we look at what is climate change, what is causing climate change, how can we do projects to alleviate climate change. So at the community center, I've just taken 2 people from Abagaveni who visited with me, and around the community center, I tell you, it's like a desert because people have been cutting trees, cutting trees. And you go in the community center, it's like an oasis because we've been busy planting. Thanks to the WCVA, the Welsh government, we have received funding for planting trees. But again, the people that we are working with, we are planting trees. We have given almost 6,000 trees the last 2 years to the communities to plant. Because for the people in the community, the source of light is firewood. They've got no electricity.
Yeah.
So when they cut firewood, what are we doing? We are destroying the soils. When we destroy the soils, what is happening? When it rains, the rains just come and there's gully erosion because there's nothing to hold the trees in place. So since we have worked with the Welsh government, we have received funding to help with the water collecting points where we collected water, and we have helped with giving seeds for people to plant. But also within planting seeds, we are also encouraging them to do organic farm production. When they do organic farm production, they are looking after their animals. They are not using chemicals because the chemicals are destroying the soils. So the work of Love Zimbabwe, our work is not just fair trade oriented. It's about finding ways to mitigate climate change. What's the way forward? How can we educate people that our actions that we are doing are also contributing towards climate change? So it works together. Climate change, fair trade, because fair trade is ethical products as well. So we are looking after the environment. It's not just products that you get massively produced.
And it sounds like it's not just, paying fairly or treating the environment fairly. It's educating as well, isn't it?
Definitely.
It's really important.
And it's not just educating the village, it's going into schools, it's about young generation as well, giving them the future, getting them to understand why are we having our seasons have changed. We all know that seasons have changed. But if we don't educate our young people in schools, they have no understanding and it continues and continues. So it's all about education as well.
And you touched on it a bit as well about how, Zimbabweans aren't the drivers of climate change, are they? The schools you visit here, I'm sure it's about educating children here that their actions here have effects on the other side of the world as well. It is our responsibility, isn't it?
That's right. And I saw the effects of it when I took a young group of students from Lampeter University. When you hear about poverty, you don't really understand the extent of it until you get there on the ground and you actually see it and think, what can I do? All the students that I visited, the first trip I took students to Zimbabwe was in 2018, I think, from the top of my head. I had 9 students from Lampeter University. All of them still support Love Zimbabwe charity because they saw what it means to live in a poor environment, and they come back wanting to do something. We have never seen people living like this, and this is what we are doing. And the same has happened. The 2 people I took in August this year, we are more closer than we were before. They are more like my voice piece because and again, this is the thing about solidarity, when someone walks your path and realizes what you're trying to do and they believe you, they take action. And I think, personally, that's what we need to do. We need to walk in each other's footsteps. I appreciate what you're doing, listening to me right now. And who knows what's going to happen. But it's the true story. This is the truth about Zimbabwe. This is the truth about the village I come from. And I've never hidden anything. I've told the people the truth.
October is Black History Month.
My birthday as well.
Well, yes. As one of Wales's leading Black women in social justice and sustainable development and fair trade, what does this month mean for you?
I don't know if you know that we have now moved on. Things have spiraled from just talking about Black History Month. Now we're talking about Black History 365. Yeah, it's now a year-long program. And what I like about it is celebrating Black contribution, mostly to the arts in Wales. So for me, as part of the Black History this year, I really enjoyed seeing the fantastic work that was done at, I don't know if you knew about it, at St. Fagans, at the national launch, where it was huge. I've never seen so many Black people.
and what happened in St. Fagans?
Well, I think Well, I know the Race Cancer Cymru through the influence of Professor Uzo.
Yeah.
They organized a launch of the Black History 365, where all musical arts people celebrating Black excellence in arts, heritage, and culture. We have the Black History Music Festival, and there were so many young Black artists showcasing their talents. These platforms have never been created before, and I was so inspired by it, such that I'm doing my one in Abagaveni. So in Abagaveni on the 25th of October, we're still in October, we've got Black History 365 event. Again, I call it the finale, but I shouldn't call it finale because Black History should be celebrated throughout the year. But what I like now is Black people are finding so much voice, and because people are listening, people are acting. The way I see it, as soon as I put my leaflet, my poster out, the first person who came to me was the head of Momo Share to say, Martha, do you want me to come and speak at your event? And I'm like, oh, this is changed. Usually I used to send an invitation letter, say, please, would you please come to my event? But when people come to you like that, and the mayor of Abagaveni said, Martha, what do you want us to do? Do you know what? Tables are changing. And I was thinking, before, I've always been begging people, and I will be worried, who is going to come? And now I'm thinking, actually, we are overbooked.
What is happening? Give us more details about this event.
Awareness. Oh, I think there's been a lot of awareness about what Black people are bringing to the UK, and awareness about the meaning of Black history. What is it about? Why?
But your event in Abagaveni.
My event in Abagaveni is about engaging young youth into singing. So we got poetry.
And where in Abagaveni is
Abagaveni Community Centre.
And how can people find out about it? And do they have to book?
I will send you. Well, they have to RSVP because I think we need to know capacity as well. So it's just about coming to listen to stories. We include stories about the Windrush elders because we are living in Abagaveni where the population didn't have much understanding what is Windrush, what is Black history. But again, we're having a population, young people who are from Black heritage, Black backgrounds as well in schools, and now they're bringing their friends who are from white backgrounds. So together, these young ones are now taking the voice of the Black people, moving it on, so that there is now a collaboration between different races. And this is moving towards a Wales that is anti-racial, 0% tolerant to racism. Because believe it or not, in our communities, racism still exists. But an event like this is also contributing towards the Wales in a wider world by accepting different people from different parts of the world. And I'm so pleased that it's the Welsh Arts Council, which is supporting us, which is providing these platforms. It's not just in Abagaveni where it's happening. They are regional leaders now. So I've been lucky to be selected by Race Council as the regional lead for Momosha. And again, it's through people like Professor Uzo, who is wanting to pick people in different places and, encourage them, encourage us to have voices. It's not easy to just stand up and talk to people in power, but through people like her, we are finding ourselves spaces where we can be heard.
And looking forward to the future, what are your hopes for the work of Love Zimbabwe, of the organisation, of the fair trade movement?
I do hope the work of Love Zimbabwe continues. We are increasing engagement here in Wales with different communities, church organizations, school organizations. We are increasing taking people to Zimbabwe as well, engaging people in the work that we're doing, getting people understanding the true meaning of fair, ethical trade, understanding consumerism. What is consumerism? How do we go? What is the next step? So by creating this, like you started from the beginning, that creating friendships, creating partnerships, I now really believe in the power of humanity. And I think our plan B now is to look for not funding, but to look for people who believe in what we are doing and get them to be part of it. It's a story. I don't see my organization as a charity. No, I see it as an organic movement. It's a woven blanket where whoever comes into this blanket is sheltered, and it doesn't matter where you're coming from. But when you come into this blanket, you have a life and you survive. If we look at, for example, now funding is now very difficult. You know it. It's not going to happen. It's going to, if we rely on funding, we're going to fall apart. But if I rely on you as a human person, that's how we're going to survive. So at the moment, we are looking at encouraging, mobilizing people to join us, to understand what is it that we are doing, and to move with us, along with us, so we keep our work keep going.
Martha, thank you very much. Diolch yn fawr iawn. Welcome back to Wales, Africa and the World. I'm pleased to welcome back Ojelade, Diaspora and Inclusion Officer at Hub Cymru Africa, and Martha for our regular segment of Africa This Week, where we'll have a bit of chat on what's going on in Africa. Ore, what's been going on?
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us again this afternoon. So we have two major news from Ghana and a news from Congo. So the first news story is from Ghana. In Ghana, they're trying to be friends with Donald Trump in the new development of the immigration laws, where Ghanaians can only have one single entry compared to the last time when they only had multiple entries. So now Donald Trump has, in order to make it seem lighter, has negotiated with them to see if they could host some of the deportees in their home country, Ghana, in order to reinstall the 5-year multiple entry with them. And people are having many views. As someone on BBC mentioned, who was interviewed by BBC, who was a deportee from Nigeria who is now housed in Ghana, mentioned how the housing situation in which they are in Ghana is inhabitable. They finished their stay in Ghana. They are stuck in Togo right now, and they are housed in a military camp.
They're not even Ghanaians who've been deported there. America's just deporting any African to Ghana.
Or the president of Ghana says is accepting any West African to the country because they don't need visas to host them.
So but they're accepting these any West Africans with no plan or resources to house them properly. They just sort of accept them and then either just leave them struggling or deport them again to Togo.
So they do deport them twice. I think the major reason why they wanted to do that is to show some form of diplomacy they claim they have.
Right.
And it seems like the political tensions, the visa restrictions.
Right.
Because for background and for context, Donald Trump had already stated that the multiple entry visas Nigerians, Rwandans, and Ghanaians have no longer exist. Right. So I think the diplomats in Ghana think that the best way to do it is to be humble and accept any form of negotiations the presidency has donated to them. So in this case, even if you're not Ghanaian, they'll house a deportee, knowing fully well you have your home country.
Yeah. So it's Martha's just
It's
shocked.
really shocking, really. I can't believe it, honestly. So everyone goes there. Then what? Is there follow-up from the US or on these people when they're deported in Ghana or?
From the current news, no. I think the major thing the whole government of the US is trying to say is, you're not part of us, you're not one of us, figure it out yourself. And Ghana seems to have gotten what they wanted from this interaction by housing them temporarily, taking them back to, well, not back to their homeland because they're in Togo, housed in what they call a military camp. And two Nigerians who have been deported from America are saying the conditions are terrible. And he's worried to go back home because they don't have their papers. They don't have any form of communication as they interact with the guards who are manning them to get funding from their family back home. And one particular person is from a tribe in Nigeria called the Yoruba tribe. And he mentioned he's worried because he might be harmed if he goes back to Nigeria because he's from a specific tribe.
That is sad. That's really sad. And you saw where the solidarity comes in. But sometimes I feel we are very lucky to be living in Wales. And whenever I talk about Wales to people outside the world, they kind of know what the protection that we have from the Welsh government, which doesn't exist in other governments, putting these people at risk and not even thinking about it. Then what? What is going to happen?
It's quite reckless, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
The fact these people, they don't have papers, shocking. Then they're not able to contact their families or their friends back in America. So they're just completely isolated, defenseless.
Yeah.
The power imbalance is messed up.
Yeah, exactly. And I also think about when he says, so from the BBC report we were able to read, he mentioned about how he owns a mortgage in the US. And for you to own a mortgage as big as that,
Right.
you should have some proper documentation. So how are we classifying them as illegal immigrants?
Yeah.
What's the US classifying as illegal immigrants? And also to Ghana, maybe understanding, well, you've gotten one thing out of the way. How are you planning to structure yourself to keep these people when you say you want to be a home for deportees? Anyways, next on the segment, Ghana seems to not be out of the news as they finally qualified for the World Cup 2026. They seem to be the only sub-Saharan country in the World Cup at the moment, if Nigeria doesn't qualify this afternoon. So Nigeria has to play Benin Republic to qualify,
Right.
in order to stick their foot up and maintain the status quo as the giant of Africa. Because since Ghana has been qualified for the World Cup, Nigerians and Ghanaians on social media have been bickering one another. It's not really about jollof rice anymore. It's really now about the players, and it's sad to see.
Yeah.
I'm biased. I hope we win today.
Oh.
What do you guys think?
It's today, isn't it?
Yes, today.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll keep an eye out for that.
But that's good news anyway. That's really good
Yeah,
news.
that's
Something
good.
to look forward to.
Positive.
Yeah,
news,
that's
isn't it?
positive news for other people, I guess. As a biased Nigerian, I hope.
Ore does tend to favour Nigeria on this podcast.
Well, I don't blame you, because if I come to join you, I'll be introducing Zimbabwe. So.
Yeah. And what else is happening, Ore?
On a more serious note, on September 30th, 2025, the military court in Kinshasa has sentenced former President Joseph Kabila to death in absentia.
And that's the Democratic Republic of the Congo.
Congo, yes. The Democratic Republic of Congo. He was convicted for treason, war crimes, and the crime against humanity, including murder and sexual assault, because he was believed to have been collaborating the M23 rebel group, which has significantly terrorized the Democratic Republic of Congo.
Right.
And people believe that this is quite shocking, and people are also worried about how people who have no moral values, or in quote, have no moral values, can sentence someone to death when they're not upholding the people themselves.
There isn't any question then that this former president is or has been a bad actor, let's say.
Yeah, he's been on exile for a long time now.
Yeah.
And he's been said to have opened like private organizations to keep money for the people to himself. But it's also not, or they believe that the M23 rebel group is affiliated with it, but there hasn't been a significant proof that he is affiliated with them. But from what we've seen and what we've read, he hasn't treated the people of the Democratic Republic of Congo well enough to be a leader. But it's still shocking to see in absentia it can be said that he was guilty and even more or less given a judgment of death.
The timing seems a bit odd. What's the motivation of the people prosecuting him? Are they free of guilt or...
No, like I said earlier, it's like a guilty party telling someone else you're guilty as well.
Right,
It's
yeah.
like a child playing with mud and you're trying to stain yourself with already a dirty clothes. So like there's no one clean
Right.
in the whole process of the judgment. So people are raising an eyebrow and saying, well, you're fishy too. Why are you telling someone else they're fishy as well? But we don't know where he is. We don't know if they could actually sentence him to death. That's something that the story is still going on to see, because there are only rumors that he might be in South Africa or he might be in Rwanda.
Right, okay. And Rwanda is playing quite a big role in this internal civil war,
yeah.
aren't they? What a mess. Well, we'll keep an eye out for that going forward. Thank you, Ore.
Oh, thank you, everyone, and enjoy the match today, and hopefully the best team wins.
All the best.
And that's it from Wales, Africa and the world. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you to Martha for being our guest this week, and thank you, Ore, for joining me to discuss what's happening in Africa this week. If you want to get in touch with us to learn more about the international development sector in Wales, accessing support, or anything else, get in touch via our website hubcymruafrica.wales. This has been Wales, Africa and the World. Diolch yn fawr iawn. Thank you for listening.